I love that question. Honestly, it was a bit harder than I thought it would be. I honestly didn't think I'd actually be studying on a mountain. When people say that, I honestly thought it was a joke until I realized that it does snow quite early at SFU. There's like one time in a year where I had to get snow boots in October, and I had a customer come up to me, another customer shopping for shoes, and she was just like, "Why are you shopping for winter boots so early?" I'm like, it's snowing on campus. So yeah, it's hard even transiting there sometimes. So hopefully the gondola actually gets built sometime soon. But yeah, not too
Wow, so
bad.
you actually lived on SFU campus.
I didn't live on SFU campus, but I would say it was kind of like my second home because sometimes I'd be there till like 3 a.m. I've done a couple sleepovers on campus in the library a few times too.
Hi, my name is Shani. I'm the host for this podcast today. I'm here with my guest, Aileen. Aileen studied at SFU. Aileen, what did you study at SFU?
I got my business degree at SFU with concentrations in finance and management information system.
Amazing. All right. So to start off, I'd like to ask you a brief question. What was it like studying in a place that has winter that lasts pretty much half the year?
I love that question. Honestly, it was a bit harder than I thought it would be. I honestly didn't think I'd actually be studying on a mountain. When people say that, I honestly thought it was a joke until I realized that it does snow quite early at SFU. There's like one time in a year where I had to get snow boots in like October. And I had a customer come up to me, like another customer shopping for shoes, and she was just like, "Why are you shopping for winter boots so early?" I'm like, it's snowing on campus. So yeah, it's hard even transiting there sometimes. So hopefully the gondola actually, gets built sometime soon. But yeah, not too
Wow, so
bad.
you actually lived on SFU campus.
I didn't live on SFU campus, but I would say it was kind of like my second home because sometimes I'd be there till like 3 a.m. I've done a couple sleepovers on campus, like in the library a few times too, when you have back to back finals. So technically my second home, but I did not live on dorms.
Wow, crazy. All right. Well, I'd love to hear more about that. We're going to dive deeper into your whole student experience. We're going to talk a little bit about what was it like, being able to study at SFU in terms of like cost of tuition, cost for books, all the materials that you need for your schoolwork. We're also going to talk a little bit more about about the weather, about what it was like living or studying at SFU, and also just but yeah, like your day-to-day experience, how you balance school with like work and friends, social life, all that sort of stuff. So all right, so for the next question, I'd like to ask you, what was it like with the cost for like being able to study at SFU? What was it like for paying rent and paying for tuition, books, that sort of thing?
So I was very fortunate that my tuition was covered by my parents through the RESP that is offered in Canada, so an Registered Education Savings Plan. And so, but yeah, tuition was still quite expensive. For a student that lives here in Canada, it's around $4,000 a year per semester. So like 3,500 to $4,000 per semester with like tuition and books and supplies all included. I did not have to pay for rent because I was able to live with my parents back at home. So I was very fortunate as well too on that end. But I do know international students pay like four times more the tuition and then have to think of rent as well too. So if I were to give like one recommendation for international students, it'd be good to look into homestays. I know there's a good amount of families in Vancouver and Burnaby that allows students to live and rent one room, and they also offer like free meals as well too. And it's also good to live on campus as well. Dorms, I think, are fairly cheap compared to renting
Right.
outside of campus. So I'd recommend that as well. And it's always a great time to connect as well if you do live on campus. I know some students that actually were born here in Vancouver but decide to live on campus just for the connections and being around other students. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Definitely when you do live on campus, you definitely get to see people a lot more often. I guess you have more of those interactions because, yeah, you're basically always living with them.
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right, now can you cover a bit more about like what was it like for the cost for like books, the reading materials, the things that you used for school specifically?
Yeah, I feel like per class it might have been like around 150 to $200, but hack is to try to look at free online books. Sometimes you'd be able to find books that yeah, you would be able to find free books online or even like cheaper options, or maybe you can even rent books as well too, or buy from other students. I know sometimes there's like Facebook pages where students are selling textbooks that are used but still quite new, and so I would look into that before buying a whole new textbook. I try to avoid doing that just because I wanted to save as much money as possible.
And also, like I think you probably go to the library too and get some, right?
Yeah.
Library probably offers some of the textbooks.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they do. Yeah, youth books as well too. And honestly, like online textbooks are so much easier than carrying actual heavy textbooks. So I
Yeah,
always try to
that's
make
true.
sure that my textbooks were online when I needed, when that was an option.
No, for sure. Amazing. All right, now, what was it like adjusting for you from like high school to university?
Yeah, I would say on the education studying side of things, I took, I think I made high school quite hard for myself, honestly. So I was kind of used to the studying just because I was like a self learner. I barely paid attention in class. And so, like, for me outside of class, I had to study on my own anyways. And so I prepared in high school by taking AP calculus and then
Mm,
tried to really find myself and see like what my skills were and which ones weren't. So I did take physics, chemistry, bio, and took economics and all those other business courses. I think I only had like one elective, which was band, and it wasn't really an elective to me. So while exploring my options in high school, that's kind of like where I knew where my skills were. And I was like, okay, sciences wasn't really for me, even though, like, got high grades in it, but it wasn't something that I was passionate about. So for those high schoolers out there, I do recommend trying to explore different subjects in high school to know what you actually are passionate about. And so when I went to university, like, I was taking most classes that I actually found enjoyable and actually easy to study. And so studying was quite easy, but not so much. Like, I would say what I recommend doing is getting an accountability partner. And so if you find a classmate that's taking the same courses as you, try to study together. It makes things a lot more fun. Studying alone in university is not something I recommend doing. So it's always good to find like minded people, do like study dates, and go to cafes. Don't try to study at home too much unless you actually enjoy
right.
doing it. That's one thing I really did. I was barely at home, I was always out and about. And so even though I'd be like spending 12 hours in a day studying, I didn't really feel like I was studying so much because I was in like a good environment outside of home.
No, and I think like that's a really important point you just said. Like, definitely try to study outside of the home too. Because like for me, I could never study at home. I remember when I was in high school, I can never do my homework at home because it's like it's so distracting, Because I feel like you're in your house where all the food's there. I would always want to like, for me, I would always want to gravitate towards like eating, and then I would just get distracted with eating and then watching TV because I have the TV right there at my disposal, and then it's like I don't know, it's just different. And I would always be, especially like too, it was really hard for me during like, the spring towards like summer months because like it was always nice outside, and so it's like, oh, why do I want to be stuck in my house doing homework when I could like be outside enjoying the sun? That was more how I felt. But yeah, I definitely went to like cafes a lot to study. So when I was in high school, I spent a lot of my time studying at like Starbucks, and I found that really helpful. And I think it can also translate to university too, not just high school. Like yeah, like definitely just try to like not study at home because I feel like home has just so many distractions that it's, I mean, for some people I guess it does work, but like for others like us, I know that like yeah, studying definitely outside of home is also
For sure.
better. And also like yeah, like what you said, like just like figuring out, exploring through high school, like like your like different strengths and abilities and kind of like what you like and don't like. It's super important too, because like yeah, like I know when I was in high school, I knew for sure like, math and science was like not my forte, and I knew that like I was always better in like, the social sciences, English, and social studies and that sort of thing. So I knew that like in university, I would not go into math or science. I knew I would for sure like, and I also realized that like I like through taking English in high school and that sort of thing, I realized that I really did enjoy like creative writing. I realized that I really enjoyed writing actually. I didn't pursue that in university, but I did take psychology. But I think that writing helped because I also make music. So, it's like, I
Yeah,
write and I realized that, yeah, it's something that I enjoy. So, yeah, definitely like, just, yeah, like realize like what your strengths were in high school, passions, and that can definitely help also guide you to knowing what you want to do in your future in university.
for
So,
sure.
now, what was it like for you balancing student life with like, I don't know if you had a part time job or like how do you balance it with social life?
I've had part-time jobs while studying. I did a co-op, and so I was able to prolong that co-op by doing it part-time for like 20-30 hours. For me, just balancing it with, honestly, I don't think I balanced pretty well. I had to I put sleep on the side. In the university, I was honestly having like average 4 to 5 hours of sleep. 5 hours of sleep was a good number for me, and so if you did the math, I was able to still have a social life while working and doing school. I don't recommend doing what I did. I would prioritize sleep first, but it's always good to like have a schedule, monthly schedule, to prioritize time hanging out with friends on a weekend for like even 4 hours in that week, and then just do block timing, right? So for me, like even on a weekend, I'm like, okay, during these 4 hours, this is when I have to do studying. After I do those 4 hours of studying, then I can spend the night going out with my friends, right? And then there's work as well too. But just gotta do what you gotta do, but make sure
Yeah.
you're mentally safe while
Yeah.
that.
No, that's a good point too. Value your sleep. Like definitely like, make sure that you're sleeping proper hours because that will impact like, I mean, your whole life really, right? That'll impact your area of not just study, but like your social life, everything.
Definitely will. Don't do what I did. Get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, then study, then work, then prioritize friends. I think that's the order that I would have done if I had to go back in time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now I know you talked a little bit about the weather at SFU. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? So you said it snows in October?
There was one year when it snowed like in late October. I think I could even pull up like a Snapchat of it happening. So you never know what's gonna happen up there, honestly. Don't recommend driving to SFU during snow time. Learn my lesson there, unless you have actual snow tires, which I didn't. Yeah, that's
Wow.
something. Yeah, I would prepare to transit earlier than expected because sometimes there are delays there when it's snowing, or you can just avoid campus overall and
Do it online.
do it online. Do
And
it online.
how did you
Online. Sorry,
how did you adapt to like the weather on campus?
I didn't. I would bring blankets, scarves. I would bring extra socks. Honestly, it's not as bad as I say it is right now, but definitely having boots was good to have because they don't really clean the stairs too well in the snow. So get your winter
Mm.
boots.
So make sure you have good winter boots if you go to SFU.
Yes. So
Oh,
it was a
very
good excuse for me to get good winter boots going to school there.
yeah. And now we all know that Vancouver is a pretty multicultural, diverse city. So I'm assuming that SFU is also pretty multicultural and diverse as well. What was it like for you, like that experience? Did you enjoy the diversity, the multiculturalism at SFU?
I enjoyed it a lot actually. Through that, I was able to make longtime friends that were international students. Some of them already moved back to their home countries, but at least I'm like still connected with them. If I ever want to go visit, like Hong Kong, Singapore, like those places, I'm able to connect with my friends there now. It also helped me like expand my food taste as well too. University was a time where I really explored a lot of different restaurant cuisines, just from hanging out with people that had better taste buds than I did. So now I'm like a very big foodie base just because of the cultural, how multicultural it is. But there's also a lot of clubs as well too that you can join. Like, there is like this, I think it was called Canadianized Asian Club. That was like one of the big Asian clubs that you could have joined at SFU.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like international student clubs as well too. If you like
Yeah.
anime, there's an anime club at SFU as well too. Honestly, there's a club for everyone. I personally didn't really join any. Like I was part of like the business club there, but other than that, I didn't really explore my options there.
Yeah. Okay, got it. But I mean, yeah, it's really good, the multiculturalism aspect, especially with like meeting people like international students, right? Because it's
Mhm.
like I love meeting international students, honestly, because like you said, like if you want to travel, then it's like you kind of always have like a place to stay in
Right.
another country, and also like you just have a friend there, so it makes like traveling more, I guess, accessible and also just more fun in general, since you kind of have like your tour guide and your place. And yeah, it's nice. I know for me too, like growing up, like in high school, like all my friends were international students, and a lot of them were from like Mexico, Spain, Brazil, and Germany. And so it's like, yeah, it's super nice. I mean, I never really traveled to, I only went to Mexico. I didn't really go to the other places, but it's like, if I do want to, then it's like options are there. Also, one of my best friends was an international student from South Korea. So yeah, I could go to South Korea and visit her. So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely that's really good. Another question I want to ask you. So, what's a good cheap hangout spot would you recommend for like students?
Cheap hangout spots like at SFU.
Or just in general, like in Vancouver, like Burnaby area, Metro
Well,
Vancouver.
yeah, it wasn't open back when I was in university, but I really recommend Big Way Hot Pot. They have a lot of locations now around Vancouver and Burnaby. It's good because like if you're not eat so much, like you can honestly get a meal for even like sometimes my meal is $12 at Big Way, and you get a variety. Like it's pretty healthy as well too. If you got a good mix of vegetables, meat, and carbs. So that's one recommendation. And honestly, like sushi is always quite cheap as well too. If we want to, you know,
Yeah, it depends
be
where you go. Yeah.
meal. Like I don't go into McDonald's. We don't have McDonald's at SFU, so
Okay.
yeah, I think that's a good thing though.
Probably for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also love Steve's Poke, like Steve's Poke
Mm,
for sure. And they do have the first location actually was opened at SFU, and it's still there. So
oh,
that's where
nice.
I spent most of my food money on as well too. But
Okay. Yeah, I do love Steve's Poke. That is really good. And I also did hear that Big Way Hot Pot was actually pretty affordable as well. So yeah, that's cool. All right, another question is, how did you celebrate your first snowfall on campus? Like the first time that it snowed at SFU?
I don't
What
think
did
I
you celebrate? Or
celebrated. I don't. I think I might have skipped class. Not gonna lie. I think I celebrated by finding a buddy to transit with. Yeah, I
wow.
think the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Oh, I did celebrate the snow during my last semester though. So 30 minutes before my final, I bumped
Okay.
into a couple friends that were sledding on a
Oh,
mountain
no.
on a mini hill, and so I did that. I do recommend doing that at least once if you're on the SFU campus.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I know we talked a little bit about the clubs, briefly. And do you want to talk about the sports teams that are offered at SFU?
There's many teams. Like we have a good football team, basketball as well too, volleyball. Yeah, I watched a couple of those games, but didn't really join. I'm not that good at sports, to be honest. I do enjoy sports, but wasn't good enough to join a team. But they have everything. They even have cheerleading as well too.
Oh, that's good. All right. Now, what are the other clubs? I know you talked a little bit about there was the Asian club or there was an anime club. I know I heard that SFU has many, many clubs. Can you touch a little bit more about the other clubs that are offered at SFU?
Yes. Let me think. Like there's clubs for each like faculty as well too. So if you want to get more involved in the the members that you were in, like there's positions there, and like doing clubs is also good to have on your resume as well too when you're looking for a job. So I highly recommend joining a club then, and then if you're in a business program, definitely recommend doing co-op, or even if you're in that offers co-ops or internships, that's a great way to really explore what your abilities are and what you actually enjoy doing as a long time career. You should definitely do that as well too. I think I would put co-op first over clubs or even volunteer experience. Because I know some people like volunteering as well too. For example, if you're in kinesiology, joining like a sports team to help out in, that's something that you can do as well too. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, no, and I think that tip is definitely is pretty smart. I think that yeah, like definitely putting your co-ops and that sort of thing first.
Right.
That's really what's going to advance you in your career. Okay, now other question is, what are any fun traditions that SFU has? Like, does SFU have like a spirit week or I don't know some fun during like different holidays, Christmas, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a couple. Like the first ones that come to my mind. Like I know during first year, there were a lot of events going on. Like for my program, we had like this 1 week first year program where we even like stayed in a hotel just to get to know a bunch of first years there. Sometimes they set up like I remember one year they bouncy castle and stuff, and then there's like a bunch of stalls with all the clubs that are there as well too. I also been to a couple parties as well. SFU runs a couple of them, so there's like one time or twice in a year where they do run like throw concerts as well
Nice.
too. Yeah, with certain artists. Like I can't think of some artists that were on top of my head. Like Manila Gray. Have you heard of Manila Gray? Like they played at SFU once. But honestly,
No,
even if you're an SFU student, I recommend going to UBC as well too at night on a weekend. Like the frat parties are quite fun as well.
the frat parties. What's
The
like
frat
your craziest party story? Do you have one?
on campus, like honestly, not really. Like, I didn't go to any like frat parties at SFU. I heard they are not so great, but I did explore UBC campus quite a bit during frat parties. Not really that many crazy stories, kind of like disturbing stories. Actually, no, I witnessed like try to climb a fence and his leg got like yeah pretty injured, and we had to call the ambulance. I think that was probably the craziest thing that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a
It
party,
happened.
so it it happens. You
Right.
it's kind of given. Now, does SFU do any like stuff though specifically during like holidays season, like during Christmas? Is there anything on campus that's done during Easter? Like, do they do any egg hunts, anything like that?
I think there probably was. I didn't really join in on many of them. Like I feel like Valentine's Day they had something going on as well too. I think they
Okay.
give out free breakfast here and there during they probably out pancakes or something during Christmas. Probably had Santa Claus. Oh, I remember taking pictures with Santa on Christmas at SFU once. So we do celebrate some things.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. And
Yeah.
now, I guess my other question is a bit more about networking. So, how do you network here? Like, especially if you're shy, like, do you have any like networking tips of how to network?
Great question, Shani. Actually, I feel like when you're in business, like it's pretty easy to network just because we're kind of forced to talk to each other. So I know like some courses and different majors, like you have more projects, but in business, we have a lot of group projects, and so in that way, we're already forced to network with each other. It'll be good to have a LinkedIn if you're in university as well too. Like I feel like it's always good to network on LinkedIn as well too. You're always able to like search mutuals that are like doing the same degree as you and stuff, like hit them up for coffee, you know, try to find people in your class and just ask to study. Like I think that was the easiest way for me to make friends was in my classes and going like, hey, want to study together? That usually opens the doors for me for making longtime friends. I don't like connections, but for me it was like making friends with like-minded people at university.
No, that's awesome. And now, my other question is, I don't might not be exactly relevant to you, but do you think that SFU like helps set you up for like a global career? Like, say, like after you study SFU, if you want to go work in another country, do you think like the skills that are learned and acquired there are useful to go work abroad?
For sure. Like, I feel like the study abroad program sets you up pretty well for wanting to work globally if you like as well too. I didn't do any study abroad programs, but I did have a couple of friends that like went to Spain and Hong Kong stuff for like a semester or two, and they were able to make connections there and like work there part time as well too, in the co-op that they were in as well. So there, SFU sets you up pretty well for that.
That's good. That's really good. And now, what do you think is one skill that every Canadian student needs for the future?
One skill. If you told me to list like a couple, then I feel like it'll be easier for me to
For sure, like
answer.
list a couple.
But
Yeah,
one
for sure.
skill, like honestly, like being yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with being yourself. Like I feel like a lot of students kind of shy. They like to stay in their own zone. Like I see some students just like studying alone at the library. But try
Right.
to like come out of your shell, be a little bit more extroverted. Like there's nothing wrong with like going up to a student going like, "Hey, what are you studying?" Like it was good for me because then during the last year of my program, we opened up a new place for students to study at, like the sub. I was able to connect with students that weren't even in my do studying the same thing as me. Like I met friends from like kinesiology, psychology. What else is there? Like science, computer science as well too, and engineering. Like it was quite easy to make friends at the sub just by simply saying hi. Just say hi, honestly. I think that's
Yeah.
one thing. Say hi. That's one advice I give.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then my other question is, what do you think is the best internship that a student could land here, like in Vancouver or in Canada?
Best internship. I mean, let me think. I'm kind of biased, but I'm into tech. Like I love fintech. That was my first internship, so I'll say that. I feel like there's a lot of programs as well too, like for computer science. Like I know there's a lot of good programs there, like in consulting as well too. There's a lot of good project management internship roles, I think, as well. I know the job market isn't so good right now, but and even if you're a creative person, like there's a lot of marketing roles that I'd suggest doing too. I saw
And
a
did
good amount of
you,
roles now doing a co-op program.
yeah, and did you personally do an internship while studying?
I didn't do an. I would consider an internship like it was a co-op. I did do a co-op while I was studying, so I worked at a fintech company, like a startup. I do like. I love my startups. That's what I did, and so it helped me
Nice.
develop my skills, and it actually helped with my long-term career as well too. Like it worked perfectly well for me just because the company that I was in, they wanted to hire me full time as well. So
Oh,
yeah, it was
nice.
connection. I was able to make connections through my co-op.
So also like it's a good networking tip as well. Like when you do a co-op, it actually can lead to like networking.
Can open the
And
doors for you and like even your boss could maybe refer you to like some other company if they know what you're interested in doing as well too.
yeah, so it can also help secure you like a long
Ex-
term job.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
that's really good. And
Yeah.
now my other question is, what was the biggest academic pressure that you felt like when you were studying?
Oh my goodness, this is gonna be such a funny story. Okay, so I didn't really tell this many people, but during my first year of university, I didn't have the influence, right? I was put in that mindset because I have an older cousin that's also at UBC, like in comp sci, and he's just like, Eileen, as long as you pass university, you're perfectly fine. Just aim for 50%. Like you don't need to try so hard. So that's exactly what I did during first semester.
Oh my
Yeah, I
god.
got into academic probation during my first semester. And so like if I got academic probation again or if I did bad during my next semester, I would have gotten kicked out of SFU. So that was the biggest pressure I had. So I did realize I do have to study quite a bit. And so during like my
Yeah.
second and third semester, like I made up for it. So I made Dean's honor roll. So I went to opposite spectrums of, academic probation, almost getting kicked out to getting honor roll. So study. Don't actually try to aim for 50%. Actually try
No.
to
No.
actually try to do well. Anyways, yeah, that's my story.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, yeah, no, I kind of went through a similar thing in high school too, where I think, or maybe, yeah, where I feel like I wasn't doing so well in the beginning, and then around the end, I don't think it was from an influence. I think it was just, yeah, just me. But yeah, no, I kind of too from like not doing so good, and then kind of an honor roll, which was really nice.
Right? It's good.
Um,
Sometimes I love the pressure.
yeah. But yeah, no, thanks so much for sharing. Like yeah, like just your experience studying at SFU and yeah, just kind of how all that was like and the weather challenges living on the mountain. Definitely, if you're gonna live there, like yeah, like or if you're gonna study there, like just make sure that you get boots, you get your good gear because definitely sounds like it is cold up on the mountain. Um, but yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything and talking a little bit about the clubs and the things that are offered there, especially like talking about the co-ops and the networking tips. Those were really good for sure as well. And yeah, and just also the good cheap places to go and hang out and get food. And yeah, it's awesome. All right, so in the next episode, we're going to hear from Jeremiah, and Jeremiah studied at UBC and he studied biology. So yeah, but that's all for today. So thank you so much, Eileen, for coming to this podcast with me, and I'll see you guys all in the next episode. Bye.